All right, Scott, we're heading out into Everspace. Scott, you and I are back into the world of Everspace. Everspace 2 is out for us. It was man, I had mixed reactions going in whether or not we're going to get into this one because we had mixed feelings from the first Everspace. But they really seemed to amp it up this time around, and I've had an absolute blast playing the game. How about you?
Yeah, this version that we're getting into is a pre-release build still, but it has taken some changes and some feedback from the first wave of alphas, and it seems like they've incorporated into a much more impressive package this time around. The game looks beautiful, I have to say.
Yeah.
One of the first things that draw me in this game is the actual vistas and everything that you get to look at in this as you're flying by at super speeds. It is a very action-packed kind of space shooter game, but there's a lot of exploration and scavenging packed into that, so there's a lot there for, you know, a couple different kinds of players.
No, absolutely.
I was impressed with the scale of this game, but also the way they have led you through certain scenarios at the beginning stages.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's much more cleaned up for a new kind of player to this universe.
Yeah, no, for sure, Scott. There's an opportunity here that they've presented with what feels like a full-fledged story, pushing the game forward, allowing you to understand why you're there in the first place, what's going on in the world, and what your overall goal is. Something that wasn't really present in the past Everspace. You're kind of just set out, you go out into the galaxy and you mine a couple things, and then you teleport off to the next one, and then you come back and you go to the next one. And there was that roguelike feel of when you just were destroyed, you come back, pick up the pieces. This time around, not so much in that sense, but you have this story that's such a big focus and a big draw to me. And then the ability to go out, because you do look for resources. It's got this bit of an upgrade survival aspect to the game as well. But it's not like when you die, you start all over. You just kind of go back to your last checkpoint and then move forward. Coolest part is that you're an actual clone pilot. Not to get too spoilerish into the story at all, but there's a couple things gone wrong, and now you're out in the galaxy trying to get off of this area that you're in and explore. But then as you go through your story, you run into these other characters. These other characters are impactful, and it just helps expand on the overall scope of the world of Everspace 2. And I felt at times that I was out there, and when you feel you're out in the galaxy, you kind of wonder if you're going to be all alone. And I didn't feel that at all. There's always something on the go. It felt populated. At the same time, when I had moments, though, that was just me and my spaceship when I was out there kind of exploring. But then you got into these battles. Man, some of those battles, Scott, are tough.
Yeah, there is quite a difficulty behind some of these engagements. When you get even just a squadron of 5 enemies comes upon you, it's a lot harder to fight off than you might think. And it's a lot to do with this long-term game that's happening in the background between missions where you're fighting different characters and you're leveling up your ship and your facilities and these characters' abilities. And I feel like there's a lot more of an intelligent path through the game where you're supposed to take a break and really think about kind of where you want to build your ship and character up into a combat role. And I think that's a really interesting thing, because it's not that throwaway kind of play style that the Everspace 1 was known for. It's done a lot to explain the roguelite elements, and this game has definitely gone in a different direction with it. There's quite a contrast between the kind of smaller areas you used to be drawn through in Everspace 1, and now comparing that to a much larger open, at least it feels much larger and open gameplay area that you are kind of left to decide your own fate and string together your own story out of these quests. And I think that was an interesting turn for the series entirely. It makes it more of an experience when you come across these really, really hard fights. You know, maybe find a different path for a little while and come back and triumph over some of these crazy fighters. An interesting cycle that'll definitely get certain gamers addicted for sure.
Yeah, no, easily you get this kind of this grind, this loop of kind of going out and searching for other items and just exploring some of the worlds, the actual planets that they've created, and you're warping from one area into the next, and it's linear, but it's not, right? Because you're given a checkpoint, you go to that checkpoint, and then from there, when you warp into that world, from there it's kind of the open space. But you're moving around this massive galaxy. It is huge, and the more you explore, the more opportunities come up. And that's one of the coolest things is when I found myself going from planet to planet. It didn't planet to planet to space station to wherever other object I was heading to. It never felt like it was repetitive. I didn't feel like they were using the same assets, which often you can see in these games a lot of the time. So I always felt there was something new and something fresh to push me forward. Man, this game was a ton of fun, and I just want to keep playing even more. And the story was such a great connection and a hook that was well done, well voice-overed as well. And the music, I thought, matched everything perfectly along while I was playing. And the ability to upgrade not only myself, my ship, and my other crewmates, man, it's just there's so much compact into this game. It was awesome.
I'll be damned if they didn't load any medical supplies.
God, I don't think either one of us felt too lost out in Everspace 2. We had a blast playing this game. I absolutely loved it. The story was well done. There's so much to upgrade and so much to explore, which always felt so different. For me, dude, I have to recommend Everspace 2.
Yeah, based on my first experience coming into this one, I was a little worried maybe that I wouldn't enjoy certain aspects of it, but they absolutely have responded to a lot of the feedback from the first wave of alphas, and I have to say that I've seen the improvement in this version already. Something that's very pleasing to me is they've gone the extra mile with a narrative. They have the story to keep you going through, and it's a more directed experience. And they've really cleaned up kind of the scavenging, scouring the environment aspect of this game and really made it something a lot more enjoyable. I have to recommend this one as well.
Nice.
After many changes and updates during development, we take another look at the pre-release of Everspace 2. Much has improved since our first time with the game, and we have to recommend this game to those interested.